Are you guilty of using that little bit of extra milk that is in your jug after you've frothed? Hang about, I'll show you how to froth the right amount of foam and have the right amount of milk for the cup you're about to use. Hey guys, welcome to our part 2 of our masterclass in milk. Today we're going to cover how you can really nail those finer points on getting the right amount of froth for either a flat white, cappuccino or latte, and then also assessing what size jug suits the actual coffee you're making. You might have a small cup, a medium or a mug, and you want to know how you can use a small jug or a large jug to be able to assess where you start with milk and where you're going to end up for the right amount of froth. So I want to start by dispelling a few myths. It's really common when you start, or even now, just to fill below the spout on a jug. Now, has anyone actually ever explained why? If you did ask someone that question, they're probably going to say you need enough milk to be able to get it to spin to make that jug work properly. Well, to be honest, this is a 600ml jug. And most people grab that jug to fill this small style cup, which is 220ml. So if we're going to start, it's just about almost halfway. We already have way too much milk to fill this cup. So you are going to have leftover. And that leftover after you've frothed is going to be thin, watery, and be terrible to use on that next coffee. So I know businesses or people don't want to waste milk. You're tipping basically your profit down the drain every time you pour out that old milk, or soy or almond or whatever it is. But there's a really easy way that I'm going to share with you on how you can assess using the right jug for the right cup, and then how you can assess where you should start for milk level when you fill it for a flat white, cappuccino or a latte. So I'm going to draw you a diagram. It's really handy, it's easy to follow. It's going to be in the link below for you to download. And it's going to help you understand what cup to use for specific jugs and where to start with milk for a cappuccino, flat white or latte. So let's draw a simple milk jug here. So in the past, we were told just to fill straight to the bottom of the jug. Now, it's a good reference point, but I want to go into it a little bit deeper. So what we're going to do, we're going to get a cup and a jug, and we're going to fill that cup full of water. And we're going to pour it into this jug. And it will end up about here. What we need to think about is, because that cup is full, we need to think what is actually the makeup of that cup. It's going to have milk, espresso, and foam. So let's subtract the espresso. I'll write that in here. So I like to call this our full point for a cup. And this is our end point for the particular cup, because whatever we put from this point down should equal the espresso and fill the cup we're using to the brim perfectly. So we all know that cappuccinos have more froth. Then the next level down with a little bit less froth is going to be a latte, and then we're going to have a flat white. So let's come down the jug in different increments, making sure that we're allocating less milk and having more room to get more foam. So this is where we're going to start with a flat white, because we only want to get a little bit of froth. This is where we're going to start for a latte, because we need to get more froth than a flat white, but less than a cappuccino. And again, the cappuccino, we're going to start with the lowest amount of milk. So all of these are allowing that room for the specific amount of foam that you want in your cup. You can do this very accurately. You can weigh the cup, weigh the liquids, and you can literally have 2 centimeters or 2.5 centimeters of foam for a cappuccino, 1.5 centimeters for your latte, and just that nice little bit of foam in 5 ml for a flat white. Now, if we had to put this into a time on how long you're going to get your hiss when you're frothing, obviously the hiss gives us the foam. So in a basic term, we're going to be looking for, in time in seconds, about 5 seconds of hiss for a cappuccino, 3 for a latte, and 2 for a flat white. Now you do want to get a little bit of hiss on a flat white. It's going to make it a much sweeter coffee. Now some people say I don't want any foam at all, and that's fine. You wouldn't do any hiss at all. So how does this work practically when it comes to a cup? I'll show you now. Okay, so we're going to start with filling this 600 ml jug below the spout. So if we start with that amount of milk and we start to get froth, we're going to have more volume in there. And again, this is our small cup. I'll just show you something. Being at the bottom of the spout there, if we take this and pour it all the way into the cup, we've got plenty of milk left over. We haven't factored in the espresso or the foam that's going to be added into that cup. So straight away we know that this is way too big a jug for us to be frothing for that small cup. So I'll pour this water back into the jug. We're going to do it the other way now. I want to fill the cup up so that's the maximum amount of liquid that we can fit in that cup. I'll try not to spill any. And we're going to pour it into a smaller 400 ml jug. Okay, so if we have a look at the volume, you can see it is right at the bottom of the spout. So that proves that filling to the bottom of the spout is going to, no matter what you do, have too much milk left over at the end. It's wastage. So that is the end point that we should be finishing after we've frothed. As I did in my drawing earlier, we need to subtract the espresso from this volume. Now, if you know that you're putting a 30 gram, 30 ml shot, you can make this analysis really easy. I'm just going to do a little example and just pour some out. Okay? So that's a nice little bit of espresso that's been taken out. So that would be the first level that I drew on the drawing, which is what we call our end point. From here, we need to now start subtracting the amount of foam that we want for a flat white, cappuccino, or latte. So if you take that liquid, put it aside, and we poured in our main liquid now, we could stop and say we want 2 centimeters of foam in that cup for a cappuccino. This leftover milk that's in here is the amount that would either be for a flat white or a latte. So you could simply take this and get rid of it again. You pour this back in, and if we drew a line on the inside or on the outside of that jug, some jugs have the mil marks on there, which is really handy. That is the amount of liquid that you need to start with for a cappuccino in this small cup. Now, why do we use different types of jugs? There is a big difference between a small, normal stainless steel kind of jug and one of these pot style jugs. This is the same size as this one, but you can see there is a really distinct different shape. There's a beautiful little pot here, and it is actually far less in diameter at the bottom. So it means that we can froth a smaller amount of milk, do it very accurately, and we then have a beautiful spout here to be able to pour out of with far more control. It's also a thicker jug, so the heat, it's a lot easier to work with. It doesn't get as hot as quick as well. And obviously you can have different colors and whatever you like that might match your home or your workplace. So it gives us far more control to use smaller amounts of milk, which helps you not have the waste at the end. So I'm going to now show you what I've just explained and put it into action. In this series, we're going to use a whole range of machines. We started off with an entry-level domestic machine for the home use. We're going to get into some better machines here for higher end home, but all of this is applicable even in the commercial environment. And as we progress through the videos, you'll start to see other machines that are double boilers and really great commercial machines. And the steam quality is going to only get better. It's going to be drier, crisper, and be a lot faster to froth milk. Today we're using the Giotto Rocket Tipo V. It has a 1.6 litre steam boiler, which is 300 ml bigger than the Isomac. It is going to give us a lot more pressure. So if you've got this machine, you could still use the toothpick in the smaller jug if you need to. That tip is in our last video. So let's make a coffee. So in my drawing, we were going on the concept of having the same cup for a flat white, cappuccino or latte. What a latte glass normally is between 20 to 40 mils bigger in the glass. So we're going to counteract that when we're using the same size jug. So we're going to start with a little bit more milk because the physical glass is bigger. Now I've done the measurement and it is just below the spout on this one. Load up our shot. Surge. And we're going to need more time to hit. Get it on, spinning, constant hit, 3, 4, I reckon 5 seconds on this steamer, and lift it up. Have a listen to the milk. It is going to change in the sound, and that's going to represent the heat. Too hot to touch. 1, 2, 3. Turn it off. Let the milk sit. Give it a squirt and a clean up. Okay, so we've got our espresso in our latte glass. You can see that the volume of that milk has risen up nicely. Tap out our bubbles. Give that milk a bit of a swirl. It comes back nice and glossy. And tap any espresso bubbles out that you might have and give it a swirl. And we're going to pour out. In and low, get that foam to dive in and under. Come back. There we go. Now you should be able to see the settling in that cup. We want that foam to be through that whole cup all the time and then rising up to give us that beautiful, good centimetre and a little bit, maybe centimetre and a half on that one, of milk foam. When you look on the top, look, we've poured a nice little tulip base with a heart on the top, but we've got that sweet foam blended in with the espresso. It's going to be really tasty. And again, not much milk left over at all. So we don't want to be over frothing or having too much left over. So now it's time for the cappuccino. We're going back to the original size cup. So what we're going to do is pour out the right amount of milk. Now, again, that is a lower amount of milk than the flat white or the latte. Now what I'm going to do is show you why we use these different modder style jugs that have the pot on the bottom. So I'm going to transfer that milk across. And you can see it's really, really below the pouring spout. Okay, we're going to load up our shot, run our coffee, purge to get the water out, get it spinning, lowering it to get our hit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now keep that spinning. Nice vortex, too hot to touch. 1, 2, 3, and turn that off. Let it rest. We've got our espresso here ready to go. Let's work our milk. Tap it, give it a swirl. Now how you pour with this is very different to the other jugs. It takes a little bit of getting used to. The handle's definitely further away from the jug, but let's give it a go. Pour in and low. Okay, we're going to get a bit of chocky on there for a cappuccino. And let's do a bit of an assessment on that as well. So we can see it's nicely blended, it's a beautiful cup. It is starting to settle a little bit. Now, I do have a smidge of milk left over here. You do want to dome your cappuccinos. Now, if you can't dome a cappuccino like that, you don't have enough froth. If you do it quick enough, you can cover it back up, and that's ready to serve. And you can see we don't have any milk left over here. And when we do our assessment, you can see that there is plenty of foam there for a cappuccino. And it's really trying to grab its way back to that cup edge very quickly. So there is a good amount of foam in there for a cappuccino. It's not a flat white or a latte with chocolate, because that does happen a lot. So I really urge you to focus on this concept, do the assessments of the cups that you're using, and make sure you start serving good cappuccinos as cappuccinos, because that is one of the biggest complaints that we hear from customers all the time. It doesn't matter where we are, they're sick of getting flat whites with chocolate when they want that frothy foam. So I hope you got something out of that concept of how to get the right amount of foam for flat whites, cappuccinos and lattes. And then how to do your cup assessment. So if you loved it, make sure you like the video, shoot us a comment if you've got any other questions, and obviously subscribe and hit that bell icon and you'll be notified about the next video, which is going to be how to do latte art. We know everyone wants it. We're going to give you the techniques and the tips so that you can keep practicing as well and become a pro. All right guys, thanks very much. We'll see you next time.